Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you doing? I've missed you too. How are you doing now, Alpha Film X Team? How are you? And Donna and Trace. Hey, girls. How are y'all? I am off camera today because I took a nap. You know how I do. Something, I don't know. It's a new thing that old Cresha does, I guess, is take a nap on Sundays. Okay. Right before I go live. So, it tends to I was picking with y'all last week about how it's like, Men in Black, where they have that little zapper machine, where it makes them forget what they just saw. And so, I feel like whenever I take a nap, it does the same kinda effect or whatever. And I'm just like, "Wait, what was I doing? What?" There's so many things that I wanted to touch on. There's so many things I wanna talk about, but I can't remember. So, there's just always too many things going on, right? Hey, Fancy Nancy, how are you? I miss you too. I miss you too. Hey, Angela, how are you? They are great. They get better. I hated naps when I was a kid. Hated them. And in fact, I hated cats because my mama would always say, "Come on, let's go take a cat nap." And I was like, "I don't want to take a cat nap." So then I didn't like cats. And then, yeah, no correlation turns out. But anyway, so I'm so glad you guys are here. And I wasn't sure what to even talk about this week. There's so many things, and I'm so like learning, the Diddy case, and I just don't know it like I do this case, or all the people in and around Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell, Tim Ballard, this entire circle. Like it's like, hey, I got the Mormon pillar, you know, you know. Hey, Moonlight View, how are you? Good to see you, girl. I'm so glad you're here. Yeah, poor Brutus, I know. But so I don't know. I don't feel confident enough to speak about Diddy and Kanye West and that whole leg of that pillar, because that's all it is just different devils on many different levels. It's just we all have them. We all have devils on different levels, but holy crap, these people are just vile, in my opinion. And but there's a lot of correlations between the two groups. There's and that has this satanic ritual or ritual aspect to it, this generational, multi-generational um aspect to it, where there's so many things that go hand in hand. And I'm really looking at the Diddy case because I'm looking at it as like a model, if one can call it that, or an example, or just to see kind of how this mob like abuse works. I mean, it's just because that's all it is they call it an enterprise, and so, and racketeering and human. I'm trying to think about the keywords here so I don't get totally shadow banned. Stop shadow banning me, you know. But anyways, um, I'm just trying to learn the system, and like how each pour into the next um area, and kind of see how this works. And the one startling thing that I learned, that both and when I talk about this, I'm saying like the SRA and the cases that be, in the Mormon realm, okay? The ones I study, the Hamblin, David Hamblin, David Levitt, Gordon Bowen, um, that aspect of it, there's like different layers of this, but I think they're all one and of the same, in the sense that you kind of have the same things powering it, but at, at the source, at the core of it. And um, you know, there's just different pillars of it. There's 5 different pillars of it, actually, and I'm just trying to learn that, so I can speak more confidently about it, I guess, but it's the same thing going on over there in Diddy land. Ugh, that sounds so gross. Diddyland, right? Oh my god, that made me think of Michael Jackson real quick, but, y'all, it's so gross, and it's tragic, but it's disgusting, and it's heinous, and I mean, the same thing that's going on in the Diddy case, in my opinion, is exactly what is going on in Tim Ballard slash Operation Underground Railroad slash Lori Vallow and slash Chad Daybell slash Jody Hildebrandt slash, Ruby Frankie. It's the same thing. And they just kind of have their own flair to it, and it's their own interpretation, or perhaps looking at them under a microscope and just kind of looking at it, and each case by case, and I try to zoom out quite a bit and look at the bigger picture, and they all do and the same thing. It's the same thing. Tim Ballard and Operation Underground Railroad were being investigated for trafficking. Okay. David Levitt, okay, who's over here in the Hamblin side, but again, they're one and of the same. Hey, Huggy Bear. Hey, Marianne. They're all one and of the same, in my opinion. I'm not trying to be general. I mean, they really are. But like David Levitt, okay, the former Utah County prosecuting attorney, whose brother used to be the governor of Utah, Michael Levitt, David O. Levitt, okay, his brother, he was the target of a Homeland Security investigation. He may very well still be. I don't really know. I don't know how to find out. But I mean, I've learned this through following Goel, that's kind of his tag name or whatever, his handle. And he has a channel called Investigations and Ritual Abuse. And that's just there's so many different ways that this is spun off and perceived by media, by the public at large, by the masses, and unless you dig in, and it takes a lot, because you're like, well, I don't understand all these things. Why are they calling it satanic panic? Why are people labeling it as just some woo woo, some hocus pocus stuff? But then I look at Tylee and JJ and I'm like, they're not hocus pocus, like they're not a conspiracy. This is not a conspiracy. This is real life. So if you want to go by labels, and if that's what guides your life, then you probably, unless you dig in, you're not going to find out. So you're going to find out, though, when you do dig in, that there are so many wrongly perceived, I don't know, perceptions, or I really don't even know what to say, but oh, I know. Hi, Isabella. I know she's horrible. And just, oh my God, let's take a second and I'm just so proud of Colby, y'all. I'm so proud. I'm like, oh my God, Jason, he's grown up. He's grown up. I like tap Jason, and I'm like, look at him. He's so grown. And in the sense that, like, he's just talking so sensical, which is opposite of his mom, nonsensical. And I mean, that's something that my Uncle Charles did say. He used the word nonsensical, and it describes it perfectly, because you're trying to make sense of something and someone who has no basis of what that even is. And I mean, I think that goes par for the course with the fact that, I mean, these people are so delusional. Okay. I am not, fighting that. I totally agree. However, it's just, I forget who said this the other day, but they said, when someone is labeled or someone is diagnosed, or let's just say the public diagnoses the person, okay, and says, oh, that person is schizophrenic, then, or crazy. Okay. That's that whole crazy label that gets thrown out by the powers that be. Okay. Because they want to character assassinate. They want to poke holes in your character so that you're never believed. All right. And whether you're a perpetrator and usually the case is and or the also a victim. Okay. So it's so complex because in a lot of sense, Lori and Chad and David Levitt, David Hamblin, Gordon Bowen, um, Jody Hildebrandt, Ruby Frankie, somewhere along the way, these people were also hurt. These people were also abused. These people were at one time innocent, you know? And so that innocence that's getting stolen, okay, is exactly what then turns this into them projecting their feelings onto their children and maybe labeling them dark and then sacrificing them. Okay, so hey Carolina, how are you? He's trailblazing something about mental health maintenance. Oh, well, that's cool. I didn't hear that part, but hey, I always have to go back and listen and watch again. So that is not on his bad. That's me just not paying a damn attention. There's so many things that go off and I started to write him a little note. Colby, I'm talking about. I started to write him a note about Tom Harrison and the seriousness of Visions of Glory. Like, I was like, okay, I noticed that, he was just kind of like, well, it's just kind of a book that they read. And I'm like, oh, no, 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 no. It's much more than that. It's so much more than that. So at least it allowed me to see where Colby and Kelsey were in their understanding of Tom Harrison's role in this and I'm sorry, not Operation. Well, that too. It's again, it's one and of the same. It's like these people, it's birds of a feather flock together. Totally. But and they do go hand in hand. Look, I got a little there's my little scary slide. Okay. So I mean it's just how can one person right here have so many different or how can this all go back and this one man, Tom Harrison, is who they have in common? That's sus to me. Plus the book, the book is one thing, but the personal alleged personal relationships, where Chad and Julie Rowe were supposedly going and meeting Tom Harrison in his office in Salt Lake City, so he could teach them how to portal, and portal means remote view. Okay. We know this from what Janet Resson is doing. And you just kind of have to, because Mormonism has its own language. Okay. So you kind of have to figure out what secret combinations means to the average person. Okay. Secret combinations to me is just like some kind of scripture that comes out of the Book of Mormon that many of these people have referenced. But when you go and look what secret combinations really are, oh, that's not it. That's not even the slide. My bad. It's this one. But when you go and look at what secret combinations means or in Mormonism, then you come to find out that it means devil worshiping. It means Satanist. Okay, it's what it means. Okay, so again, and then whenever people and especially Mormons, like, whenever they hear secret combination, they shudder, and they're like taught to look the other way, like that's just again, it's kind of like this whole thing, how people who can what's the word I'm looking for, hyper critical thinking skills and things like that, and then we get labeled as conspiracy theorists when that's really just a label that was introduced by a government agency that starts with a C, ends with an A. Okay, so it's just interesting. Okay, but you have to go through all kinds of things just to find that out. But right here it says, and this came from the I'm not Tony, Troy Rawlings. Okay, so he's the prosecuting attorney in Davis County, Utah, and I mean this was from that from that investigation into Tim Ballard Operation Underground Railroad, and it says O.U.R. committed a crime by failing to disclose to donors its use of a remote viewing specialist. And so that's Janet Russin, okay? And I just blurred the other stuff out to kind of focus that. But I mean, just kind of think about that. And that's exactly what portaling is, like when you go and do the research into what portaling is, and you're like, what the hell is this? What are they doing? But instead we get this. Okay. So it all is, again, one and of the same. And this is Ken Krogh. We're going to talk, he's going to be basically, blah, 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 blah. Right. Let me go grab that little slide so I can kind of read from it, because, Operation Underground Railroad, Tim Ballard, that whole fiasco there is really, is so much. And I don't really know how to simplify it. I'm not one of those, I'm not skilled in that, I wish I was. I'm just not good with summing things up. Just, it's not my strong point. But okay, so American Crime Journal, which is Lynn Packer. Okay, Lynn K. Packer is an investigative journalist who I learned about Operation Underground Railroad and Tim Ballard. Okay, initially this was like back in 2020. So I think the kids had been found at that point. So Tylee and JJ were found June 9th, 2020 in Chad Daybell's backyard, right? And then this kind of popped onto the horizon, and I was like, I know that I've heard many people talk about it in the case, in the Facebook groups about, when the kids were missing. And I just didn't know what it was. I didn't have any basis for any of how these things are supposed to work. I mean, I feel so green, so young, and, just not knowledgeable about it, just totally ignorant. And so I've wanted to know what it was about. And so I followed Lynn K. Packer, who has done an amazing investigative, journalism on this about Operation Underground Railroad, Tim Ballard, how it relates to M. Russell Ballard, who was, because he's since passed away. But I mean, he's in church leadership, he's like, Hiram Smith is his, great, 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 great grandfather, whatever, how many greats, and again, this all goes hand in hand because, although, although both Ballards have denied, very, very openly, forwardly, they're like, oh, no, hey, no relation, no, just in case, and so anytime they offer that up, I'm just like, why are y'all doing that? Because it just seems excessive, unneeded, unnecessary, and is M. Russell Ballard related to Tim Ballard? And I haven't found anything yet, and for Mormonism to not find any kind of genealogical I haven't looked very hard though either. So, I mean, there's that, take it for what it's worth. But anyways, I was going to show you guys. Actually, no, let me go back and read it because I was on it and then I got off of it. Anyways, but there are like Roselle Anderson. She married Hamblin. Okay. Roselle was married to David Hamblin. Okay. In the Hamblin case. That leg of it, okay, that's the Gordon Bowen connection, that's David Levitt connection, that's that leg of it, okay. And then you have, and not to mention that Gordon Bowen, just that last name right there, Bowen. I mean, tell me how coinky dinky this is. Gordon Bowen, and then M. Russell Ballard, the apostle, Elder Ballard, was married to Barbara Bowen Ballard. Okay, Bowen being her maiden name. Okay, so you have two Ballards and two Gordon Bowen. Right. There's too many weird names. Too many close names. And then not only that, but then add a third coinky dink, and that would be Anderson. Okay. Tim Ballard, you heard, maybe some of you have heard, Janet Russin tried to deny the fact that they were summoning the prophet Nephi, the ancient prophet Nephi. And instead, she shows up on another YouTube channel and she's like, oh no, we weren't channeling the ancient prophet. No, 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 no. And whether it's true or not, that's on them. But she says we were, it was Tim Ballard, Tim's great 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 grandfather, Nephi Anderson. And I'm like, well, damn, you got Roselle Anderson, you've got Andersons in the background of President Ballard, you've got some background last name Anderson in Tim Ballard's realm. I mean, come on. Not to mention that David Levitt and David Hamlin are cousins, also. So it's like, it's very generational, multi-generational, and this is how this works, okay? This is how this works. It does. It's so, there's so much to it. Anyway, back to, O.U.R. But American Crime Journal, which has extensively covered O.U.R, published a piece in April of 2020 in which editor Damian Moore reported that investigators were particularly interested in a photo of a whiteboard drawn by Ballard that had been shared with them, which takes the form of a diagram laying out connections among these entities. It was the result of an August 2019 meeting at which ACJ, American Crime Journal, reported that, quote, Ballard laid out a secret plan to monetize his child sex slave rescue nonprofit and proselytize prospective converts for the Mormon church, unquote, to close associates. So this is the whiteboard meeting that I remember hearing about, the secret whiteboard meeting, 2019. And to me, that's like, it goes so hand in hand with what happened to my family. Okay. Because Chad and Lori were part of this movement. They were in there with the same people that are, a lot of people maybe don't associate or don't connect. And that's Senator Mike Lee. He's a United States Senator. Mike Lee spoke at the same event. Rod Meldrum, he held the event. Tom Harrison was introduced to Ken Krogh, okay, which is this guy, right? That's Ken Krogh. So Rod Meldrum introduced Tom Harrison, which is this guy, okay? Okay, so he introduced Tom Harrison, right here. Here you go. Tom Harrison to Ken. And then Tim Ballard spoke at the same conferences. Glenn Beck spoke at the same conferences. There's many more. There's many more. But anyways, all right, let me get to it because I'll never get going. And I'm not going to be able to stream the entire 2016. Now, this is from 2016. Let me get out of here. Okay. I call it the whiteboard prophecy because it goes hand in hand with the with the white horse prophecy, which is Mormon related. Okay. But I mean, this is 2 hours and 13 minutes. Okay. But I'm going to have to shut up. So I'm going to be quiet a lot of this the rest of the time. Okay. I promise. And that way we can kind of get through it because it needs to be published. It needs to be heard. And again, it's too long for me to go run it through and put, what do you call it? Closed captions on it. Okay. So we may have to just plow through it right now and then watch it on replay. And whenever you watch it on replay, it'll be able to show, closed captions. So I apologize for that. I just don't have the manpower or the tech power. Okay. And anyways, you'd have to have multiple terabytes of power. Okay. And I don't have that. So I struggle with Wi-Fi. But anyway, so this is Ken Krogh right here. And this is a whiteboard meeting that was allegedly in 2016. And this link was sent to me by someone. And I was like, oh my God, this is basically a precursor to the 2019, secret whiteboard meeting where people were they had to sign NDAs. This was not this one, but the 2019 one was allegedly at Paul Hutchinson's house. And by the way, Paul Hudson, I was reading like a bunch of screenshots that I had collected over the years, and there was one where, and I remember this too, about how Lynn Packer was saying that Paul Hutchinson allegedly had a sex room, and I'm just like, okay, did he, that's what I think of, because I'm just like, there's so much that I feel is being hidden, that, but I mean, has been reported on, but there's so many little things that I forget. And because there's so many things to have to talk about. But I mean, just that aspect, do what you do, boo, do what you do. But when it involves children and or this guise of pretending to be a hero and saving children or anybody for that matter, when you're actually, in all actuality, you are allegedly, possibly, most likely, in my opinion, trafficking children. Okay. Tylee and JJ being two of them. If you think about it, they're caught up in this crap. And I don't like how our stories have collided, and it's disturbing, but there's always something bigger going on in the background behind even heinous murders. Anyway, so I'm gonna push play. This was 2016, and this, I don't know exactly whose house this was, but you'll hear people like Jessica Mass, Matt Cooper. I think Jessica Mass sounds like she's zooming in, like on Zoom. And you'll see Tim Ballard. You'll hear him for sure. You'll see some names be written down and shouted out on who they can target to market their plan to proselytize and monetize, right? But then I heard Kanye West say, traumatize and monetize. I was like, well, there you go. Proselytize, monetize, traumatize, huh? Yeah, there we go.
Well, here, this becomes social media. And now this is digital media. This is split between two things, virtual media and then live media. And this is passive, very active. And the strategy is actually to move it through this. So this becomes your massive PR machine if you do it well. But this has changed dramatically. When I said marketing before, people always thought of brand and advertising. Both of those are dead, pretty much. And I'll tell you why. When I say advertising, I mean traditional advertising in print media and so on. In 2012, Google finally moved ahead of all magazines and all newspapers combined. Just dwarfs it. And what's different with Google advertising is that you get immediate, quick feedback. You can split test copy changes in seconds, and you can tie exactly what you spend to exactly what you get. I liken it to the old direct mail. Direct response advertising is similar to what digital advertising is today, where it's always based on a call to action. Now, don't get me wrong, branding and all that stuff still has power, but nothing like it used to, because the big problem, the heyday of branding was when ABC, CBS, and NBC were the three networks, and that's all there was. And you had all of America tuning in, the Nielsen's ratings drove everything. Well, what do you do now when you've got thousands of YouTube channels, and millions of YouTube channels, and thousands of cable networks that fracture all those things in all different areas? You can't get enough reach and frequency on any message to really convert someone with just a brand approach. And what the internet does is fraction it even more. And so they've taken, the internet is now two extremes. It is stack it deep and sell it cheap like Amazon, or the ultimate niche boutique. Those are the two things that do really well. The stuff in between gets hammered. And so stack it deep and sell it cheap is like my buddy runs wheatgrasskits.com, and he sells $80,000 a month of wheatgrass kits. Well, that's about as niche boutique as you can get. But if he owns wheatgrasskits.com, the top of the search engines on Google, he gets it almost for nothing. There's never been more leverage than there is now if you know how to leverage these two. So the LDS Church, for example, they had a pretty good PR department and a pretty good live missionary department out in the field, but they didn't have anything in between. And so they didn't have the digital, they don't have the virtual. The example is they're really great at making videos, but they don't know who watches them. So folks like Lindsay, she always put Lindsay Sterling, the dancing violinist who has 2 billion views. At the end of every video, she has a little call to action.
So real quick, you know she's one of our ambassadors.
I heard that.
So we can, if we can divert that river, she'll do it.
Yeah. The key is you got to do it her way.
Yeah.
But if we can learn her way, there's nothing more powerful because she knows everybody else. She can bring the whole ecosystem to you. If you get her, you get Devin Graham, and you get Stuart Edge, and you get the Harmon brothers, and you can just leverage all of them. So that's a gold mine. But the key is what she's learned to do is she uses her social media to promote songs, and she gets a ton of traffic first on a video format. Then she starts selling MP3 downloads. So she starts monetizing digital as things like PDF files you can download. It's anything that's a call to action that you can actually download something. And what most people do is they just do tons of social and hope it's going to work. But you got to bridge these so that you have offers. So the model we call it is the pitcher catcher model. And this is where it starts making sense, I hope. So in baseball, you got your catcher's mitt. And the catcher's mitt is the website that is the conversion device. So most people have a website, and it converts 1% of people who go to it. But if you get really good at tweaking and improving your website, you can get it so that ours converts 15%. 1 out of 7 people who goes to our website becomes a lead. Well, that's the website that has a form that's a call to action where you never give away stuff for free anymore. You always trade it. So it comes from a book called Permission Marketing by Seth Godin. He's the #1 marketer in the world. And he's the one that invented the opt-in email, pretty much. He was the vice president at Yahoo. And he said, look, if you give me permission to market to you, I'll give you something free. So that's what you're doing is you're baiting the hook with some little free thing in exchange for their name, address, and phone number. So this little web form becomes the key to build the database. The ball is the content, and then the pitcher is throwing the ball at the catcher's mitt. So these are the 3 ingredients. We have to have a conversion device, great content, but the big one is you've got to have lots of numbers. So when we started my business, we had about 30,000 people in our database, and we piddled around for 5 years. And then one of my good buddies taught me about ratcheting this sucker up. So as soon as we did that, we realized we need to grow the database. Now we have 2.2 million. We have every single sales manager in the United States, all the way up to the CEO of the sales department. And so when we send content out, we send 2.2 million out instead of 40,000, and nothing can touch us. So that's the mojo. There's lots of ways to get
at
that.
15%.
What's that?
At a response rate of 15%.
Conversion rate.
Conversion rate.
Yeah. So
and like in the old days, if you had a 3% response in a direct mail or something else, you blew it up.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
the key to that is the type
of
of content and the offers.
Oh, I'm sure
if
there's
you want to go into the close
lot of
model.
components.
Yeah, that's a great idea. But this is really the model. See, most people only have that. The church only has that. They hope that all their videos are going to do something. And the day of organic videos being effective is long gone. So I worked with Michael Colmier. You might know Michael. He's out of Alpine. And he's had 2 big exits, and they put him in. He's sort of like the church's CMO. And he said, look, Ken, I need your help. We got those 12 addiction videos. What do we do with them? I said, put an offer at the end of them where they can download the 7 ways to deal with a family member who has an addiction. So the offer can be downloaded if they fill out their information. Then you give them the content. Now you have a database that you can now nurture them in a sequence. So that's the concept. So the first big rule is this one of what we're trying to do is we're trying to build a huge community of followers in social media. And so then the way you start doing that is, you've got to get your properties in place. So what we have to do to start with you is we get your blog, your podcast, your Facebook group, your Instagram, your Snapchat, all the different properties. These are your catcher's mitts. And think of them each one as a finger on the glove. They each do something slightly different. Like Twitter, for example, if you had a couple 100,000 followers on Twitter, all Twitter is really good for is every time you're about ready to launch another issue of the rescue report, you just quickly let them know. Yeah, guys, we're going to be on today at 5, boom. And everything just goes crazy because you got 100,000 people who are aware of it. It's like a megaphone. So we'll go through tactically how each one of the different social media platforms contribute. So anyway, this is the core model, the pitcher-catcher model. The divert a river, don't make well. What we're trying to do is we're trying to get free traffic. So we look for a strong name for your organization, and then the second big rule. You want to write that one down. It's called swim with the sharks. And without being yeah, it's not the Harvey McKay, but same concept.
Great book.
So a shark is a big brand. Tony Robbins, great white shark. You're already doing it, but we do it on purpose. And if we can do it because a shark has tons and tons of followers. And so if we can swim with the sharks, now there's two kinds of fish that swim with the sharks. There's the remora, that little sucker fish, and it just attaches itself to the shark. It's a parasite. The shark tries to crush it and kill it and wipe it off because it gives nothing back to the shark. And most people who swim with sharks just take from the shark. They hate it. The second is the pilot fish that swims by the mouth of the shark and eats the parasites and the shark because it keeps the shark healthy. And it's symbiotic. So we have to become symbiotic with the sharks. And if you recognize what Tony wants from it, he wants to rub shoulders with you because then his image is that he's giving back to the world and blah, 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 and everything's better. So you got to always give back to the sharks. But the other thing that's pretty unique is that Lindsay learned what she could do is she could start doing joint projects with the sharks. And I interviewed her for Forbes. And when I built that relationship, I was one that was able to bring her to the church to do the face-to-face event. And she taught me a lot of this stuff, and she turned me loose on the rest of the Provo YouTuber community. And I interviewed like 10 of them for a three article series on Forbes. And they shared with me their rules, and I realized, oh my gosh, they're the same rules, just different names. So they have two main rules with the YouTubers. They call it collaboration, collabs, and covers. Those are the two main things that they do. And a collaboration is a swim with the shark, and a cover is a divert a river. So let me give you examples here because this is very relevant since you're in the movie kind of industry. This is what we got to do. So a collaboration is where you do something jointly together with another really big brand.
Wait, let me stop right there because he just said something. He said, let me back it up so that I don't butcher it.
Collaboration is a swim with the shark.
What kind of business are we in?
Is a divert a river. So let me give you examples here because this is very relevant since you're in the movie kind of industry. This is what we got.
I mean, that's pretty significant in my opinion. Since you're in the movie industry, again, you're not telling us anything that we don't already know. But there are a lot of people who don't know and who think that Tim Ballard is in the rescuing business. And so that's pretty significant in my opinion. That's pretty gross. And I mean, plain. Okay, these people don't know that we're going to be looking at this in 2024. Okay, so they're not trying to impress us or whatever. We're just like looking in. Okay, so that was interesting.
Shark, and a cover is a divert a river. So let me give you examples here because this is very relevant since you're in the movie kind of industry. This is what we got to do. So a collaboration is where you do something jointly together with another really big brand. And a cover is where you play off. Like, let me give you an example. A cover was Lindsay. She was voted off America's Got Talent in 2010.
I didn't know that.
Because she failed big time and it ticked her off so bad. But the judges threw her out at the last round and said, "We don't think there's a future for dancing violinists, and besides, you missed a few notes when you were pirouetting in the air." They were pretty hard on her. She was balling. I watched the video. She was just a cutie, but it just kicked her off. She's just this feisty little. So she went back to pro and she was ready to throw in the towel and said, "No." Well, she went to a class that was being taught by Devin Grant. He's now Devin Supertramp, and he's almost as big as she is. He does all those crazy extreme videos where they jump off of the rocks down in Moab and do surfing and it's just crazy stuff. But he was really the brains behind her, and they dated for a while. See, he said, what you need to do is you need to go find a big event that's about to happen and ride the wave. So he colored me an example. He said there's a little video game called Zelda, and they've got millions and millions and millions of kids who play Zelda, and they have a soundtrack. And what if you dressed up like Zelda and went up in the mountains above Provo and filmed a little video dancing around, playing the soundtrack of Zelda, and let's release it the week before the game comes out. And then let's send them a copy. And they had 27 million views in like 3 weeks. And that one thing put her on the map. And that was a cover. It's where she replayed another song. So about every 3 months, she does another cover where she replays like Phantom of the Opera and the Star Wars theme. So she swims with big rivers of existing brand and siphons it off to her. Now, collaboration is where she goes and she does joint music videos with big brands. So she either siphons off a big brand or an event, or she collaborates with a big brand. But those two, and then they completely share. So she shares it on her site, they share it on their site, and they both do better. It's additive. In fact, it's exponentially additive. It's crazy. So this is really the heart and soul. These two rules of what we do. This is it. But the key is we have to, we don't just want social buzz. We want to move it to a monetization model. So that's really the model then is we have this huge funnel, okay? And it looks a lot like this. We have influencers up here. Now, this is my corporate model, so pardon the phraseology, but you'll get the picture. There's 7 steps in the funnel. Influencers are first. So we go get the likes of Guy Kawasaki and Jeffrey Gitomer and Jack Welch and Steve Young's on our board, and we have them speak at all of our big events. So one thing we're going to probably want to do is help you launch an annual virtual event of the who's who, where they come in and they maybe we just do things we can do to change the world with relevance in your spatial event, and get Tony to speak for 15 minutes. And it's all virtual. The first time we did this, you remember we had 15,700 people, which set a world's record for the largest online sales seminar, and we had 61 speakers. And what we did is we just arranged them in 6 different tracks, 15 minutes at a time, and just went through the day and just killed it. A year later, we did the next one, 22,000, 33,000, 35,000. Last one, we just had 80 different, we had the who's who of the biggest speakers in the industry. And all they did is they bring people to our content, and then we move it down the funnel with, we have industry content, then we have company content, then we have product content, then we have proof where we prove that we really are who we are. Then we have sales content and client content. So that might not be completely relevant for what you're doing, but it's pretty close. I mean,
I can translate it.
Yeah, you can translate it. So we have another version, and our goal is just fill the funnel with huge numbers up here, but then offer compelling stuff. So this might be where you start offering your little welcome kit. that starts monetizing. And down this way, then you're looking for big donors to separate themselves out, and that's where you raise the big money. But the little money is just as good nowadays. So that's really the model, just those two major rules, and we just go tap, because who doesn't want to be part of the message, And the funny thing is, it's like dominoes. As soon as you get Tony, you can go get a half dozen of the other big guys because they all want to be involved. So that's really the strategy that I've seen be really powerful. And then once we have this massive social platform, then we start doing digital media. Like, for example, what I do, because you're busy and I'm really busy, I developed a methodology called the core content model. And so let's say I do a webinar on how to use Twitter, and this is like the hands of a clock here. So I do a webinar, and I'll always do it with a joint presenter with a big brand. Okay. So in fact, before I go here, let me jot one more little minute. So my basic strategy, and I think this is what we want to do with Operation Underground Railroad throughout the next year, is we co-brand you with just anybody who's anybody. So when I started, I wrote this little blog, and nobody knew who I was. So I went and I strategically located about 50 of the very top bloggers, authors, writers in the whole sales space. And I actually analyzed how many followers they had, how many books they published, all the, I had metrics for everything, how many Twitter followers, blah, blah, blah. And we found that Trish Bertuzzi was probably the #1 thought leader in the inside sales space. She ran a big group on LinkedIn of just inside sales people, which I wanted. So I started following her, and the acronym is look, listen, like, love. And this is what your staff does. You have to do it with them about once a month for an hour or two so that they see what you would write. Does that make sense? Because their job is to mimic and become you on steroids. I've got about 7 people who run my infrastructure as if it's me, but it's my words, and I always synchronize so that they say it the way I would say it. And if there's some student who wants to do a story about me, this is what I would say, and then from then on, they know what to say to a student and what they say to a decision maker. So you look at what she's doing, you listen to her conversation, you press the like button, you make comments, and then you love, which is leave unsolicited validation. And what that does, because if she knows you're a player, then you get her attention, and boom, you've got another thought leader to add to your influence with him. So next trade show we were at together, where we were both speaking, she runs up and she about tackled me, gave me this big old hug. She said, "Ken, I love you. You're so awesome. Can't believe you're doing that." And I said, "You're great, Trish. I've been wanting to meet you forever. We should do a joint webinar together." She said, "I would love that." She said, "Let's go after the real high-end vice presidents of sales, because that's where we all make money, right?" I said, "Yeah, let's do that." So we did a joint webinar for an hour, and just like the process here. And I had a huge database, but she had the brand at first. So I promoted the crap out of it. I gave her all the attendees. So that's the key. When you collaborate, you also share what you get, and then they share back, and you commit that we'll grow together. And it seems a little counterintuitive, but you just kill it. So I grew her brand, she grew mine, and in one fell swoop, I was almost equal with her. But the difference was I outworked all of them because I did the same thing with every single one of them. I've done almost 250 joint events of some kind. Now I stack the deck. So for example, it's hard to get with that many folks. So at Dreamforce 3 years ago, we invited them all to come to me. And I did a half-an-hour webinar with 44 of them, just one after another. And we had people on the show floor come, but we filmed it. So we had a film crew filming me and them doing a joint webinar together to all of our national audience while we were on the show floor. So you see how we leverage your time. It only took 4 days. I could never have done that. But all of them started promoting my stuff and I promoted theirs. We all grew better. But now my brand is up here because you get a little bit of brand equity from all of them. That's really the strategy. And so once you've built that and solidified the Operation Underground Railroad, then you can start shifting your messaging a little bit, if that's the way you feel so good about it, to where you start bringing in Liberty 89 and the rest of it. The abolitionist in my mind is the really nice monetization model that gives back while you do it. Okay, so you do the joint event, whatever it is, maybe your podcast. We want to go beyond just the audio. I think we want to capture video because here's what you can do with it. So our online webinar system, what it does is it lets us film the slide deck and the audio at the same time. So this is live. I do a webinar archived, and the archive gets twice as much as the live one because people can't make the live one because their schedules. Then what I do is I save it as a YouTube video, and there's this week's video for YouTube, but it still only took me an hour. Then I strip out the audio file, the MP4, and I now have, the MP3, and I have a podcast. In fact, I usually have about 4 of them because this was an hour and they only want about 15, 20 minutes on podcast. Then I send the podcast out to transcribeme.com, and they transcribe what you said. And now, instead of you having to write something, Tim, you've got 4 or 5 blog articles in the same hour that you did. And we just give him a couple of low-cost staff members to do this. Then you've got, you can actually put the MP3s into iTunes and Android.
That's so
Because
good.
statistically, busy people today want to listen to your message while they're traveling. That's where we're getting all my sales guys. This is where they spend their time listening to. They don't watch me or read me. They listen. Millennials all listen. They love that. So
That's the interesting part, though, Carolina. Like, I'm stopping too so that I can comment every now and then to be in court in a whatever with YouTube's rules. So, but yeah, Carolina, like that's just it. This, in my opinion, the same folks that took Diddy down need to go down and investigate all of these organizations. I bet they'll be very surprised by the many RICO laws being violated. The sad thing is that, and I'm sure there's more to that, but like, yeah, and they were investigating Operation Underground Railroad and Tim Ballard, but then that kind of got called off in March of 2023, and then boom, The Sound of Freedom comes out July 4th, 2023. If you go watch Lynn Packer's videos, especially the latest ones, like probably the last 1 or 2 of the videos in the op-ed series that he does, he talks about how, who called this investigation off, basically, because there's like different aspects of this if you look at it like this, okay? So there's the Diddy aspect of this, okay? So if you just kind of back out and look at the grand view, there's Diddy that was being investigated. I feel like Elon Musk is probably being investigated. And then, I mean, I don't know that, but I don't know. It just kind of looks this way. And then, or to me it does, and then knowing that Homeland Security was investigating or is investigating David Levitt, he's the actual target of said investigation of, trafficking. I mean, he even says it allegedly in his in this documentary where he's like he has ties with Ukraine. So does Timmy. And oh, it's so nuts, y'all. This is so nuts because they rub elbows with some of the most elite people around the world, and it's just so hidden. It's just so hidden. It's just like not forefront info, and it just gets lost in the in that vacuum, I guess you could say. But okay, so they were investigating Tim. They were investigating O.U.R. Tim and O.U.R. They were investigating David Levitt and Diddy. I mean, that's like 3 major probes, if you really look at it that way. That's kind of how, I kind of backed out and I was like, oh, wow. Just kind of seeing how these are simultaneously being investigated, right? And it's like, it's just a matter of time because, and I mean, I feel it's just a matter of time before the stuff really catches up to those who lurk and do this nasty stuff. Okay, because it's nasty. And I mean, not to mention, here in a little while, Ken's going to name, they're all going to shout, they're all giving their ideas, okay, of who to target, basically. Yeah, oh yeah, Ravina, definitely. And the Franklin affair, I know. It's so bad. It's so intertwined with all that other stuff, but I mean, I'm glad to know this now and not later on when somebody decides to make these connections 30 years from now. I'm glad I'm making these connections now. I'm so glad that there are other people doing this kind of research in other cases to where it kind of showed me. I was like, whoa, so wait, so it's not really just what it appears to be at face value. It's not just Lori Chad and it could not just, I'm thinking of the possibilities. I'm like, so you're saying that it's not, just Chad, Lori, and Alex being evil, it's not just these 3 people just being real evil all of a sudden. Okay. And so I'm like, okay, there's more to the story here. There's more. And I do feel that they are protecting people because there's things that aren't said. There's things that should have been shared. There's things that, it just doesn't add up to me. There's not enough evidence for me. There's not enough evidence for me to just solely say that it's just Chad, Lori, and Alex. Okay. It just, nope. It's a conspiracy to commit some of the most egregious crimes against my family. Okay. So I'm taking that as, oh my God, this is not a conspiracy theory. It is a conspiracy that these idiots are doing. Okay. But they're not working alone and they're not just protecting themselves. In a way they are, because again, if they were to say the truth, possibly it could maybe potentially mean they're signing their death sentence, so to speak. I don't really know. I don't know. It's just another possibility. And I don't want to just be closed-minded and say, yep, it's just Chad, Lori, and it's just about money, power, and sex. Because I mean, that applies to Diddy. That applies to everyone. You, me, money, power, sex, right? What's the leading greediness or selfishness, ego that kind of trips us up, right? Which is like when we go and we want to be money and have money and wealthy and we want to be powerful and with power, these people are exerting it and projecting it and using it as an initiation tool. Okay, straight up initiation equals, and I've found this in the Hamblin case and I found this in the Diddy case, and I was like, oh my God. So like, what are they doing? What's their end game? Like, why are they, why is Diddy targeting individuals? Okay. And when I heard about this root chakra, so if you use your imagination for a little bit, it's going to be a little gross for a second, but it makes sense because what's going on is that by committing these huge violations against someone who is maybe not expecting it, because it's unwanted, uninvited, sex, okay, or any kind of behavior like that. Okay, so the perpetrator violates the initiate, and the initiate doesn't even know they're going to be initiated. Okay, and so, but the perp, he's on his mind, he's like, I'm going to get that root chakra. I'm going to break him. I'm going to break him by controlling him. I'm going to exert my power onto him, and I'm going to break and shatter his chakra. Okay. And they do that through hole number 2. Okay. I don't know how else to say that. It's really bad. Yeah. On your list, I noticed the Clinton Foundation. That would be ex-President Bill Clinton. And we have George Bush in here too. Not in this presentation, but we do with like Frank Vandersloot. We have M. Russell Ballard shaking hands with Baby Bush and Bush Sr. I mean, and the Pope. I mean, there's just, come on now. It's just so bad. And yes, to take their life force. Yes. My theory is they just take in the energy they want and only give out the low stuff they want rid of. So they are greedy for the good, but never let it flow through them. Yeah, that's it. And it's to steal their light, their victim's light, their life force, their vibration. I've heard Diddy talk about vibrations. We've heard about vibrations so many times with John Pryor and Chad's trial, you know, about vibrations. And right, we know it was in the text messages between Lori and Zalema and friends, you know. It's Aleister Crowley, sex magic. It's a real true story, right? True story right here. When John Trudell said to protect your soul because you're in the place where souls get eaten, he was not playing. Oh my gosh, that's so real, right? Yes. Oh, why? Is he being quiet lately? I don't know. He's always so offensive, y'all. I'm just like, this dude, don't go away. You know, but like Kanye has been sued by a former, kind of like how I forget the name, right? Executive assistant or whatever, EA, but he's filed a lawsuit, you know, to counterclaim it, whatever. And I mean, I'm just like, this is part of the tactics that I've seen in these cases where they character assassinate. They will go after you. They will stalk, you know, like kind of, they will intimidate you. They will go and tamper with witnesses. They will go to no ends, you know, because this is what they're doing. And I heard on another channel, and I wish I could say it verbatim, but basically they don't like, they have rules they have to follow. And, you know, being in this pillared system where they can't like lie to you. So, and in order not to lie in a way so they have to tell you the truth, but maybe how it looks like right here with Operation Underground Railroad and Tim Ballard and all this. It looks like he's like, yeah, the couple's true. So it's like, and he's going to, in his mind, well, we'll do that whole in his mind, right? He's going to rescue children, but in reality, that is not it. And so I don't know. I'm still working on that, but it made a lot of sense whenever, well, I mean, we have them written, you know. Oh, that would be awesome if so. You know, they probably do. They record them via transcript, transcript.com, right? Anyways, all right, let me push play. I just don't want to get it taken down. I want these people, because you know,
So we
they
break
will.
out your audio as a byproduct of the cool things you're doing on Rescue Report and webinars with famous people. And then it really gets interesting because now you got blogs.
Do they? Tim's texts talk about root chakras too. Oh my God, tell me where. Where can I find that? In the lawsuits? Anywhere? Do you know? Okay, let me know. I saw it. I was like, whoa, that would be interesting. Because yeah, the root chakra in Diddyland over there is one's hiney hole. Okay, I'm sorry. But, and it's to shatter, just like what, okay, so it makes me think, and oh, also that's in the LDS Church of Satan, aka David Hamblin, Gordon Bowen, and that crew over there. Okay, so again, Provo area, it's this cult within a cult type of deal. And these people pretend to be good Latter-day Saints, just like these Diddies over there, and they're pretending to be upstanding citizens who have all this wealth, and they share and they make people's dreams come true. I mean, just like Tim Ballard, you know, he goes and rescues children And because he can't rescue children right now, it's everybody's fault but his. Yeah, when he ultimately didn't rescue children to begin with, and ultimately where Diddy didn't really help anybody. He shattered dreams instead of making dreams. You know what I mean? Like, it's so gross. Thank you, Huggy Bear. I would love to see that. Thank you. I appreciate that. See, we network too. We're just not evil. You know?
Already transcribed. You've got, let's say in your webinar, you have the 10 things you can do to make America great again. Well, now you've got 10 tweets, 10, Facebook
You
messages.
just said make America great again. Hold on.
Messages.
Hold up,
So,
hold up.
10. Well, now you've got 10 tweets already transcribed. You've got, let's say in your webinar, you have the 10 things you can do to make America great again.
America
Well,
great
now
again.
you've got 10 tweets, 10, Facebook messages, 10 LinkedIn messages. So 10 Snapchat, you see what I'm saying? So that 1 hour these are called derivative content. And that way we keep you leveraged, but your team is always cranking. One webinar gives them 2 months worth of stuff. Then what you do is you have a little designer that you contract with, and you take those 10 good ideas and you do what's called a cheat sheet. This is the hottest, these two right here are the hottest things on the web for giveaways. And you do an infographic. So we do an avatar, which is sort of an animated version of you. And we have your face. Do you?
Well, it's a Bitmoji.
Yeah, we have your face, we illustrate the 10 cool things here and there. Here's Tim down here in the corner and, holding a little kid. I love that one. But these infographics come out every month or so, and people download those like crazy. And then the cheat sheet is just a single page summary of the 10 rules. And these are the ones that get downloaded for people following you with email addresses and stuff like that to build your users. Then what you do, it just keeps going. Then you do an ebook. Now, again, you only did an hour. And all we do is we transcribe it. We send the slides and the pictures to a little designer, and they throw them into an ebook. And that ebook is only, $4, $5 on Amazon. But this one, our ebooks, sometimes get as much as 30 times the downloads of the original webinar. In fact, I did this with LinkedIn. Remember that? We were the #1 ebook for LinkedIn ever done. We had 35,000 that were distributed, and it was a book. It was only about 40 pages, and it was just a transcript from a 1 hour webinar.
So that 1 hour webinar spun off all of those things. The 1 hour webinar turns into 4 or 5 podcasts.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Which turn into. So you're taking one message.
Yeah, that way we leverage him. But see, you want to be in all these other forms of media, because then you look like you're just. He becomes a brand. Yes. He becomes a brand. Yes.
I can show you what it looks like.
And then you got the paperback book for the good stuff, and then the hardback book. And then here's the craziest thing. This will blow your mind. We need to go back and do the Cliff Note versions of your 4 books already. Those are almost selling as much on Amazon as the originals. In fact, there are about 25 book companies who only summarize books for people. And so 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey has 7 other versions that only take 20 minutes to read, and they're making a killing.
Or listen to.
Because people don't have the attention span anymore. They don't want to read. They read the original book one time, but then they go read the condensed version like 10 times over the course of a decade.
I hope so, Marianne.
These little they're called a condensed.
I hope so.
I found on the name for them, but condensed books. They're from $4 to maybe $9. They're they're half the price of the original. They only take you 20 minutes to go over.
It's awesome.
And they're just killing it. Well, instead of letting everybody else do it, you do it, and that becomes one of your little teaser gifts to get people to read the original. Because here's the mojo. Right here, the research shows if they buy one thing,
let's do the mojo again.
For, $4 to $7.
Here's the mojo.
Get people to read the original. Because here's the mojo. Right here, the research shows if they buy one thing for $4 to $7, they're 10 times more likely to buy more stuff from you. So
You become an abolitionist and start doing it.
yeah, because remember, permission marketing is just this little bait where you get bigger and bigger engagements. So you got to get them to do something, then you nurture them to sequentially larger purchases and engagements with the cause. And this is the kind of thing we've done with the Boy Scouts of America. We built a blog for them because they didn't have. Can I just tell you that story real fast? I told you. But
Oh my gosh! So we're about to talk about the damn Boy Scouts of damn America, y'all, because it was so successful, and it was the best pedo plan ever, in my opinion. Holy crap! You know, and I'm sure they're. Oh, I just whistled. I'm sorry. And I'm sure they're looking for new ways to, you know, proselytize and monetize and draw members into the church, just like they did, in my opinion, through Boy Scouts of America. I mean, it was Tim. Is it Tim or Tom Kosnoff? I forget. Tim Kosnoff. Tom. Anyways, he's the attorney that kind of headed up. He's from Houston as well. So I wonder if he knows Busby, the attorney, and, you know, representing a lot of victims of Diddy's, a lot of alleged victims, whatever. I watched a podcast the other day, and I agree with this woman who, I mean, this is her job. Her name is Lynn's Warriors. And she, this is what she does for a living. You know, she talks about trafficking and yada, 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 and CA and all that stuff that I can't say on here. Right. And so she was saying, you know how whenever people are charged with a crime and they're presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law, right? Well, she's like, I want to propose that we do this for victims as well. You know, consider, you know, like, treat them like they're innocent as well until proven in a court of law. You know, I mean, come on now. We've got to stop the stigmatization with not believing victims. Okay. They have been trying. I'm sure plenty of people have wanted to sound the alarms off, but it gets too damn intimidating, and it's you fear for your life. Straight up. I was not SA'd by any of these people. I was not directly, you know, harmed or whatever by these people, threatened, but they murdered my family. Okay. So it's like, whoa. And so where does this stop? You know, where is this quote unquote cult stop? What about the rest of them? I've said this from day one. And so this is the rest of them. So I'm using this opportunity, and thank you, Marianne, for saying that about me and Colby and Megan, you know, the rest of the family of Tylee and JJ who are trying to expose this. I mean, I feel like that's the only thing I can do. That's the only kind of power I wield, you know, because it's like, oh my God, it runs so deep. It's so deep, you know, but learning this way and getting justice through understanding, so to speak, like we learned from KJ, that it's worth it. I can't think of any other way I'd rather spend my time than exposing this evil crap. And I forget where he was. Oh, about the Boy Scouts. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
about 3 years ago,
No, I didn't.
and engagements with the cause. And this is the kind of thing we've done with the Boy Scouts of America. That's what I want to say is, did I mute myself? Okay. Is that Tim Kosnoff, the lawyer, you know, one of the lawyers representing some of the Boy Scout victims in the class action lawsuit, right? Successful class action lawsuit, which I think there were about approximately like 90,000 like victims or payouts or, you know, something along those lines. A lot. Okay. A lot. Too many. One too many. And so what he brought to point was that at the time, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints was using the Angel Moroni as its logo, or at that time. And so the Catholic Church couldn't cross brand onto merchandise and stuff that was made
and branded for Boy Scouts, but the Mormon church could because it wasn't a cross. Do you understand? Like it wasn't the symbol of a cross, which Mormons were totally against and totally taught to be, against. Um, I want to ask you, like, Toxin, does it, didn't it mean like didn't they tell y'all that it was like blasphemous basically to wear the cross or, things like that? I forget if, and I don't know if that's across the board or just, how you hear certain stories from certain people. But, and so now it's interesting how the church has changed its tune. Boy Scouts of America is pretty much, I don't even know if it still exists. Does it? I hope not. Oh my God. Well, it might because my little boy asked me if he could join. I was like, nope. No, sir. Nothing against you, but no, I would never live with myself. I'm not about to put my kid up. Anyways, so it's just interesting how they brand it. It was similar to me, in my opinion, and my experience, to come onto YouTube and to try the way YouTube is modeled. They want you to have a channel banner. They want you to have this and so many things in order, so many subscribers, so many, you have to verify your channel, things like that in order to get into the algorithm, play with algorithm gods. Okay. And so, I mean, in order to do that, I had to basically brand, and I'm air quoting like a mofo back here. I had to brand murder. And that's not cool at all. I still have problems with that. Like it's just like, wait, that's not everybody's life. That's not a cookie cutter for everybody's experience. Mine's not at all to talk about something that I enjoy or that's positive. I mean, it depends on how you look at it. I love exposing these people, but still, you know what I'm saying? Like it's just, it becomes a branding thing. And I just find that super interesting, to say the least.
We built a blog for them because they didn't have. I can just tell you that story real fast. I told you, but it illustrates what we're doing. So about 3 years ago, this is so nice, it's cool. In 2009, we formed the Do Good Foundation.
The Do Good, not more good.
You've given back,
And you've tagged yourself to this brand.
and now you appear on the Google search for Tony Robbins and on the name of his biggest book. So you got two rivers of traffic flowing. You with me? And then you mentioned your book in the same article. So now you drive traffic from his flow to yours. And the thing just starts to go crazy. So here's an example. And this is how we have to think. So I wanted to do an article about Twitter. Because for years, I badmouthed Twitter because I thought it was a joke. But I noticed something really cool. When I wrote an article on Forbes, I had about 37,000 followers on Twitter.
He writes for Forbes.
And I had just been doing it as a hobby to see is there any value at all. But every single time I wrote an article.
And so anybody that studies this, I know that like there's a Janet Forbes, I want to say, I don't know. I'll have to go and refamiliarize myself with that. But I just want to, hopefully that'll prompt somebody in the chat to remind me or to say it more eloquent than I can. But I mean, which is, again, it does tie into Heber C. Jench and this whole Best Friends Animal Society aspect of it. It's, I don't know. We ain't got there yet.
I
But
would send it out to my followers. And I would ask them to comment and to share. And I would usually ask a question. And all of a sudden, as soon as I did this, I get this massive surge of traffic just out of nowhere. And what I found is on Forbes, there's a thing called the most popular algorithm. And it's the top 25. See, we have to be good at doing this on every digital outlet we go to. The top 25 articles of the day. And so there's 1,000 authors on Forbes. but very few ever make it to most popular. This is like when you trended to number 3 on Amazon. That was a big deal. But if we could find ways to keep traffic flowing to your book, you could trend that way for months and years instead of just a little surge. This is the key. So I decided I was going to write an article about Twitter. I went out to the Google Keyword Planner tool and I said, what are the top keywords about Twitter? And here's what I found. Twitter tips, Twitter tools, Twitter best practices, Twitter best practices for business. I had about 8 of them. And what I did is I wrote a headline called 31 Twitter tips, Twitter tools and Twitter best practices for business. I put them all in. And that article is the top article in the world on Twitter.
Amen, sister.
There's about 550,000.
You were poo-pooing it.
Yeah. And I got and this was in 2013. And I got a call from Forbes and they said, we need to know what you're doing. We think you're gaming the system.
So what?
And they said, everybody else, when they write an article for us, and we think you're gaming the system.
So what?
This was in 2013. And I got a call from Forbes and they said, we need to know what you're doing. We think you're gaming the system.
So what?
And they said, everybody else, when they write an article for us, in 6
I tried hearing.
days,
I couldn't.
it's met its course. They said, your article goes like this. They said, you realize you're getting more new views a day 3 years later than you did the day you wrote it. And the reason was because I was getting 8 different rivers of traffic from keywords from Google driving to that article. That's the key. And then the thing I learned is at the end of every single article, I put a little call to action. So I have a captures map. So at the end of this, I put follow me on Twitter, and I will send you the more complete version of the article. Does that make sense? So you see, if you got the principles, this thing just kills it. So what we have to do
You have
is
that on your hand, right?
I have to translate this as well. O.U.R.
Could you present this?
Yeah, because in the middle of doing all this, we need you to be like, oh, don't forget this.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Who's going to do this?
Yeah, always have a call to action and get the keywords in the headline. Boom. And this thing just starts working. So now the question is always, how do you monetize?
Is it?
Versus in a product
Is it
or
really?
service versus an emotion?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. How do you monetize? Well, how do you monetize? So
versus in a product or service versus an emotion.
yeah. Yeah. How do you monetize? Well, what I always do is
Part of it is that sequence.
yeah, this sequence is the key. But I call it creative plagiarism. What I do is I go find a model of someone who
Creative
is
plagiarism.
monetizing in roughly a way you want to do it. You already had a cool way with the clothing. The Boy Scouts, to finish the story with the Boy Scouts, so we
Ugh.
got the blog going,
Mm-mm-mm.
and they now have 130,000 followers on the local blog.
How many victims you got?
70,000 followers on the national blog, bigger than the Boy Scouts office. And this is now bigger than the Deseret News, the Salt Lake Tribune that was our enemy. This is now bigger than Deseret News, which was not even our friend. We're now bigger. We have more subscribers than the 2 largest newspapers in Utah. And those are read in every state on every continent. And so what happens now, we have real, authentic scout leaders write articles. We even have the boys write some articles now. And these are real, hard-hitting. We searched Google and said, what do people search for? They search for Eagle projects, how to do a Primer Derby, and where to sew the dang patch on your uniform. So guess what all the articles we wrote about first?
But how did you monetize it?
Well, so we've got the traffic flowing first. And now what we're doing is instead of doing little free giveaways, we're starting to sell ebooks on the top 25 places to camp in Utah. And the top 27 trails to go hiking, and it's only $7. we got Google to donate a $10,000 a month grant in free AdWords. So we got about 120 grand worth of marketing capital.
Mm-mm.
So you're actually driving a marketing program before you have the product to sell.
Exactly.
Nothing about
That's
victim.
my point. That's what
that is
Amazon
diverting a
did.
river.
Mhm.
Yes.
Holy crap.
Yes.
Mhm.
See, what KSL.com did is they got the largest regional flow of traffic to their free classifieds. So they built their traffic and their catcher and their pitcher. Then they started charging again for their premier ads.
Speaking of
What
catchers,
Amazon did is they bottomed out all the book prices in the world, and then they built a machine that will, a system to let you sell all your used books at every bookstore in the world. Then they cut out publishers. And now they'll publish for you and give you a 70% royalty. The best publisher on the planet is 12 to 15. They'll give you 70%.
Ooh.
So that's also why we've got to bridge some of your stuff to Amazon.
Yeah, you think?
But see, if we can get you up to here.
Get your. Ooh, O.U.R. Get you, Tim.
Sherry Diggins. She's not making up yet. But you get a couple million followers, and anything you add, even if it's $7 ebooks, lights it up. You know? Well, and the big one is your abolitionist movie, but you got to get
your abolitionist movie right there. Boom.
On this one, you got to get a ton of traffic.
The big one is your abolitionist movie. This is not about saving children. Straight up, it's not. I don't care what they say. Proselytize and freaking monetize. This is about your abolitionist movie.
Well, and the big one is your abolitionist movie, but you got to get the horse before the cart on this one. You got to get a ton of traffic. Lindsay by herself to light you up. Tony, Lindsay, yeah. But if we go do this,
you're doing good, Donna.
You'll be a global force to reckon with. Just to show you the power, the church brought me in and said, "Look, we can't trend anything on this Facebook event. Nothing seems."
Did he just say the church brought me in? Hold on.
Well, we to reckon with. Just to show you the power, the church brought me in and said, "Look, we can't trend anything on this Facebook event. Nothing seems to be working." I said, "What are you doing?"
On his Facebook event.
We got this great.
Okay, did you hear that? Did you hear that? So the church brought me in. Let me hear it again.
Just to show you the power, the church brought me in and said, "Look, we can't trend anything on this Facebook event."
We can't trend anything on his Facebook event. He is Tim. Do you hear what I'm saying? They brought Ken in, the church, I'm assuming. That's what it sounds like. Context, right? They brought me in. Okay, let me back.
Go to this. You'll be a global force to reckon with. Just to show you the power, the church brought me in and said, "Look, we can't trend anything on this Facebook event. Nothing seems to be working." I said, "What are you doing?" Well, we got this great content. We got Bonneville Communications going with high-res cameras, and they're filming everything, and it's great. I said, "That's just this. Wow. That's just the content." I said, "Well, how do you do it, Ken?" I said, "Well, okay, get me there. I'll bring all of my followers. Go find the top 20 LDS social media, like Al Fox came. We got her to come. And then have them watch Elder Holland and tweet and Snapchat and blog while they're there. And they'll bring in, a couple 100,000 all at the same time. And then go get your top LDS accounts, like your big Twitter accounts, your President Monson account, all those big accounts you got that don't do anything. Have them all mention Elder Holland at the same time. And you watch this thing go through the roof. Well,
tell me that ain't damn orchestrated, okay? And have them do this all at the same time. What are we talking about right now? What the hell are we even talking about right now? I'm sorry, I didn't catch this before. I will. I'm going to play it again. Y'all, that's pretty damning in my freaking opinion. I'm going to go back to 3813 right here.
Just to show you the power, the church brought me in and said, "Look, we can't trend anything on this Facebook event. Nothing seems to be working." I said, "What are you doing?" Well, we got this great content. We got Bonneville Communications going with high-res cameras, and they're filming everything, and it's great. I said, "That's just this. That's just the content." I said, well, how do you do it, Ken? I said, well, okay, get me there. I'll bring all of my followers. Go find the top 20 LDS social media, like Al Fox came. We got her to come. And then have them watch Elder Holland and tweet and Snapchat and blog while they're there. And they'll bring in, a couple 100,000 all at the same time. And then go get your top LDS accounts, like your big Twitter accounts, your President Monson account, all those big accounts you got that don't do anything. Have them all mention Elder Holland at the same time. And you watch this thing go through the roof. Well, we trended
at the same time. And Carolina, yes. And not just Joseph Murray and Emma Murray, but it was, if you go listen to Joseph Murray's testimony in Chad's trial, he says Spring Creek Book Publishing Company, sponsored the O.U.R. Rexburg Rescue Run on September 7, 2019. September 7, 2019, the same weekend Tylee Ryan was murdered. A few weekends later, when JJ Vela was murdered, Rod Meldrum's The Firm Expo was in town. Do y'all hear? Please hear me. Please. I feel like I'm in a room that's empty and I'm echoing, and like nobody is getting it. Like, how is that not huge? Huge. That's why I feel like I have a right to ask these questions. It's like, where were you at, Tim? Where O.U.R. Rexburg Rescue Run that was, Joe Murray testified to being a director, of that race that allegedly we thought this whole time that Tammy was supposed to have been running and training for it. But in all actuality, I have pictures of her at the race, at the finish line. Not only, there's a picture of Emma and Joseph and their baby, which I assume is taken by Tammy. Okay. But then there's also a couple others of Tammy, Garth, Seth, his wife, Joe Murray, and Emma and their baby at the finish line with some other people. Tammy is wearing blue jeans. She is wearing tennis shoes and she's wearing a blue shirt that says volunteer on it. Okay. Where was Chad Daybell since his company was actually sponsoring this O.U.R. Tim Ballard event? It's huge to me. And I don't understand why it's not picked up any momentum, There's so many questions around that. I'm going to back it up to 36.
Premier ads. What Amazon did is they bottomed out all the book prices in the world, and then they built a machine that
absolutely
a system to let you sell all your used books.
Yes.
Every bookstore in the world.
I've been of this opinion for a long
then
time.
They cut out publishers.
Mm-hmm.
And now they'll publish for you and give you a 70% royalty. The best publisher on the planet is 12 to 15. They'll give you 70%. So that's also why we've got to bridge some of your stuff to Amazon.
Yeah, you think?
Let's see if we can get you up to here. I'm trying to teach this to Sherry Diggins.
They just whispered Deseret Books.
But,
let me go back.
You get
Just
a couple
pop up.
here.
You heard him?
I'm trying to teach this to. So that's also why we've got to bridge some of your stuff to Amazon.
Yeah, you think?
Let's see if we can get you up to here.
Right
I'm
there.
trying to teach this to Sherry Diggins. She's not making up yet. But you get a couple million followers, and anything you add, even if it's $7 ebooks, lights it up. Well, and the big one is your abolitionist movie, but you got to get the horse before the cart on this one. You got to get a ton of traffic. Lindsay by herself can light you up. Tony, Lindsay, yeah. But if we go do this, you'll be a global force to reckon with. Just to show you the power. The church brought me in and said, look, we can't trend anything on this Facebook event. Nothing seems to be working. I said, what are you doing? Well, we got this great content. We got a lot of the communications going with high-res cameras, and they're filming everything, and it's great. I said, that's just this. That's just the content. I said, well, how do you do it, Ken? I said, well, okay, get me there. I'll bring all of my followers. go find the top 20 LDS social media, like Al Fox came, we got her to come, and then have them watch Elder Holland and tweet and Snapchat and blog while they're there. And they'll bring in, a couple 100,000 all at the same time. And then go get your top LDS accounts, like your big Twitter accounts, your President Monson account, all those big accounts you got that don't do anything. Have them all mention Elder Holland at the same time. And you watch this thing go through the roof. Well, we trended number 4 globally with only 20 LDS thought leaders, 17 YSA kids pounding away at it, and the top 5 LDS accounts. We were number 4 in the world. It freaked them out. It scared them. Because what's unique is nobody does this in a single organized fashion. No one ever organizes their community together.
Can you do this? I mean, I know. I don't. You and I have been friends since for a year or so since we've known each other. We never really delved into things.
We just thought he sold milk.
Yeah, and I want to know: have you done this with milk that matters? No, you haven't done this with milk that matters. Okay.
Wow. Okay, did y'all hear him say, "Can you do this?" So whoever the other person is, which I don't quite. I hope people can help me identify all the voices. Okay, but. Okay, and I also know that Jesse Stay was hired by the church and helped them with their social media branding. This is where that whole brand ambassadors, well, that's not really where it comes in, but it's another place where that phrase comes in. Ambassadors. Okay. And anyways, I actually caught something that Zalema Pastenes had put on her work history just the other day. I found a screenshot that I have of her saying that she was a brand ambassador at somewhere marketing. I can't remember right now, but I was like, oh, interesting. So I'm just kind of collecting all those little statements. But right here, Tim, it sounds like Tim is asking whomever this other person sitting in the audience or the meeting, secret 2016 precursor to the secret 2019. I wonder if we have to sign NDAs, because we're not. Anyways, but he asked, it sounded like, can you do this? And it sounds like kind of what's going on with Jesse Stay, which I did copy and paste this transcript of Jesse Stay in an interview with Xmojo, aka his YouTube channel is a agency, Hellfire Agency. And he has this interview, which is so valuable. I was just like, holy crap. For me, Jesse Stay, the interview with Xmojo, Hellfire Agency, really was like, oh my God, it helped me to kind of put a lot of these things into perspective, a lot of these relationships, these business, even affiliations, like who did what and where and why, and, his take on things. So I need to edit a video to where it'll kind of explain where, he talks about Ed Smart and the Elizabeth Smart Foundation, which will be listed here and, later in the video. But let me go back.
Yes.
These are your top
in the space, right?
In the space that are somewhat relevant.
So
it's
in
a
the
big,
top 50 so for us it's trafficking space.
Trafficking.
So plus you have the other group of influencers that are just Lindsay.
So what we do tonight now is we start tactically. Let's name them.
Yeah.
Now what you start out to do is you're a universal. You have tapped the biggest river of need of all, in my opinion, which is
You stole it.
Kid.
Just added operation to it.
So we can go for the big dog. We can go for Oprah. Oprah's number 1.
Oh.
And then we go for all the big talk shows, the late talk shows. And we get a cycle of about once a year. And you host a rescue report on the Tonight Show. You come in and you give them a few, you let them know, guys, we're not doing a rescue report this week. We're going to do it live on Tonight Show.
Y'all, we're going to pause this because that is a very, very good theory, Huggy Bear. Big time. So My theory, Tim was created by the LDS Church of Satan, right? Group to be a Manchurian candidate. I've looked all these things up too. He got sloppy, and that's why Bowen excommunicated him. It would lead back to the LDS Church of Satan, right? Yes. Holy crap. And I didn't, because I'm like, why do they not like each other? They're like, piss on you. And then, so I mean, I get it. There's all these people mainstream basically saying, Tim's denying that he got excommunicated or, publicly exed by the church. And all the while, Tim and his team are saying, oh my God, no, it wasn't the church. It wasn't the church. And it comes down to semantics. Okay. Always comes down to damn semantics with these people. And Lori, no one was murdered in this case. Well, Tim's like, no one excommunicated me or distanced themselves from the church. Not my church, But in all actuality, Lori sacrificed her children. My bad. Semantics, okay? And Tim Ballard was publicly exed or publicly distanced via Vice News by Gordon Bowen. Gordon Bowen used official and the fact that he even has access to official email for the church is disturbing on I don't know how many levels, okay, that there aren't they're so high. I don't understand how a man like Gordon Bowen can be in the good graces of these so-called godly men, but I mean, to me, it goes par for the course. It's totally makes sense to me. And I agree with Nuance O, aka Kara Burrell, when she's like, I just don't think I don't think this church is good. And I don't either. And I hate to say that, but I'm not saying the people in it who don't know, but it doesn't make it right. And no, hoarding all the wealth and
That brings your whole audience to them. So you've given back to the shark. They give all your audience to you. Especially if you can have
great.
a little call to action. Something cool. Now, don't forget, guys, go out there right now and you can download the little 10 points on what you can do in your local community.
Well, that too, Ravina, yeah.
Boom. Now you've just taken yours up to 2.7 million in one fell swoop. And then we get you on YouTubers.
What's our unique audience? Facebook 300, 400, 500.
Yeah, we're what's the latest numbers? 400,000.
Yeah, it's right under 4. Yeah. And then
that's Facebook.
Then Instagram and Twitter. And Instagram's 14,000.
Jessica Mass.
Is this making sense, Tom? Yeah, I'm trying to think through
Did he say Tom?
Crazy content.
Did he just say freaking Tom? But that don't sound like Tom answering back. So hold up.
Is this making sense, Tom? Yeah, I'm trying to think through translating it. Crazy content.
What is that?
I'm trying to think of the next step. The next step, sequential step, is you're blowing my mind. Monetization devices. So that's right where the Boy Scouts are. And you've got the video. We have TV series. We got people subscribe monthly to the TV series.
Evolution.
Download ever.
What
We're always traded for us. Exactly. But maybe what you do, I don't know. That's something you want to test. Right now, that is the coolest monetization piece I can think of. We have 7 TV series. That's an asset. Yeah. We've got any new thing you could do every week. That's an asset. The rest of the report. Then we got a movie that really turns people. It really melts their heart. What I've watched, creative plagiarism. Yeah. I watched the way the movie theaters do it. Yeah. And they.
Okay, hold on. We'll go back to that because he says what you have, is hold on.
Then we got a movie that really turns people. It really melts their heart. What I've watched.
We have a movie that really turns people. It really melts their hearts. We have a movie that really turns people. It really melts their hearts. Do you hear what they're saying?
Yeah. Got any new thing you could do every week. That's an asset. The rest of the report. Then we got a movie that really turns people. It really
melts their heart.
What I've
Nasty.
watched, again, creative plagiarism.
Yeah.
I watched the way the movie theaters do it.
Yeah.
And they monetize it first before they give it away.
Yes.
So they drive it through the theaters, and they drive it through the DVDs, and then drive it through the Netflix. Then they give you free stuff from it.
Yeah.
That's what I
Free
would
stuff.
I would say let's go. The problem is you don't have a massive database yet, so it won't monetize as well.
Right.
But you'll still monetize.
To drive people to download the video.
Yeah.
Or does the
Mm.
it's unbelievable.
And they did.
3 years of work and his team have been through. We just have not figured out how to pull it together. Yeah. Like, so, okay.
So it's traffic content, download content, monetize content. That's it.
Traffic children.
Moms.
Just change that with
Moms
children.
who just, like when I'm walking around Utah, those are the people who come up to me.
What kind of moms? Give me a description.
Like moms very active with their children, lots have multiple children. Those are the ones that I see coming up to me. I see volunteering. I just got a haircut today, and I was walking out. One of the other haircut people, walked over. Are you that that Underground Railroad guy? Oh my gosh! I sent everyone to see your movie.
I spell spirit again.
When's it gonna come? When are you gonna?
Describe that person. Were they a mom?
Yeah, 5 kids.
Okay. Okay. Now who's next? Who did you get to go viral on that?
Veterans.
Okay.
Yeah, I was the protector, say military and religious.
Be specific on religious.
I would say
Believers.
faith-based.
Faith-based.
Yeah.
Okay,
You're
I'm
probably
wrong
more specific than
because that sucker is as big as this
Yeah, that's
wall
what I'm
here,
trying
but that's
to-
okay.
And when you think
Uh,
that's more
Notice
specific than
The
faith-based.
whole wall is a whiteboard.
See,
By the
now
way.
what you would do is you would then connected the faith-based. You'd have every single denomination, each one of those. So you'd have the Jewish, you'd have the Catholic. See how I'm working? And you want each of those communities.
Mm-hmm.
You want the LDS. You want all
Wow.
the faith-based. Now, keep going.
Hey, what about
Marina, that's good.
We're throwing stuff on the wall, right?
Yes.
What about that far left group that is so free and liberal that Howard Stern mindset, like, look, prostitution's okay, but not of children. Sex is terrific.
How give them a name?
I have no idea.
So,
I don't. Well,
driving up there, I thought about what happens with a child molester in
Epicureans.
prison.
Yeah, that's the thought.
Well, yeah. So
What's
it's
that emotion?
Yeah, it's even Larry Flint, the
Yeah.
president, owner of Hustler.
So
he
maybe
hates
out here a little bit.
So
But
okay,
it's the
there's
left.
a lot of people out there with a big.
So it's the pleasure seekers and those people, those are Epicureans. That's that thought.
Yeah, that's huge.
Epicurean. I thought that was food.
He is a pleasure, hedonist.
Yeah.
But kids are off limits.
Yep.
Yeah. So left.
Allegedly.
I'll think about it anyway. Let's get back to the core, though. Besides, if you had the moms and the patriots, well, patriots different than veterans.
The eternal
Yeah.
core.
Yeah, I think so.
because
It's a
you
separate
can
group.
be a patriot without being a veteran.
Are Rod Meldrum's communities, do they flock patriots?
Oh,
Yeah. So we got that. We got the preparedness folks.
And if you throw LDS, that's
Well, you have like your police as well. I'm not sure if
Yes,
that's a different
yes.
category or not,
Yes.
but law enforcement officers.
LE.
I
I would
agree.
say that was a mixed bag.
I'll work on
And
that.
from a donation.
a lot of
standpoint,
jealousy.
Yeah,
a lot of jealousy.
but I think that comes from wishing that they had the freedom to operate.
A lot of
Absolutely.
jealousy. That pissed me
Okay,
off. I
here's
was
the
like,
thing.
ain't nobody jealous of you, Tim. Okay? We don't, you quit being persecuted. Quit thinking you're special. Okay? You're not special. You're not. Sit down, clown. You know what I mean?
Ready for this?
Oh, let me back that up.
And from a donation.
A lot of
standpoint,
jealousy.
Yeah,
A lot of jealousy.
but I think that comes from wishing that they had the freedom to operate.
Absolutely.
So, okay, here's the fourth rule. Ready for this
They all wish they were part of.
They'll talk trash and then they'll say, "Hey, can you?"
Yeah, exactly. You guys suck.
You do.
You get resumes?
Oh, I can't tell you how many stories I have around that concept.
I will work on this.
Yeah, these guys don't know what they're doing. I should fucking help you out.
Okay, so the fourth rule is use judo, not boxing. So what we have to do is we have to harness their energy. They fight you. We want to embrace them. So we would want to
Harness their energy.
So what we have to do is we have to harness their energy. They fight you. We want to embrace them. So we would want a special club, a special recognition for New York's finest, you know, something that allows us to embrace them and then use their momentum slightly, like judo does. So that's how you actually go right in the middle and you cross brand with their biggest guys, like Sheriff Arpaio down in Arizona. You should do something like that. And then you should go find the exact opposite brand, but another really well-known, you know, respected. You know, the other one would be military. So this is old veterans. You want current veterans. You know, you want. But the way you do is you make right into it and you embrace it and you shift it and you have a law enforcement advisory council about school teachers. Talk about a half dozen of the biggest guys who tell you how to win them over, and they speak for you. This just kills it. So like when we want to go target the millennials, we go get a group of 20 millennials, an advisory council, and they tell us the messaging that will work. So we probably don't go here initially, but you just form a small, and you only tap them once a year. You know, you give them some little special retreat where they come up and teach you, because this is massive. This is massive. So keep going.
Universities,
educators.
University, like when we've done the trainings at the universities, they stand in line.
Right, and that's your action group right there.
Yeah, and not so much on the donation side, obviously, but
right. But if you say we need you to show up in around,
they're militant. I mean, millennials, they don't have a history of a cause, so they go find causes more than most. That's a big deal.
Well, yeah, the Occupy Wall Street.
Yeah. Well, and so why don't we do that once a year? You know, where we have some sit-in for the kids, you know, and let them get behind it. Now that's a little bit down the road here. I mean, this is half the population.
What if you were able to? Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
All right.
Seriously.
What if children's lives matter?
Oh my gosh! You just diverted a river. You just grabbed that brand and spun it. That's brilliant. That's exactly what you do. So you go Black Lives Matter, and we come right back with Children's Lives Matter.
You said all lives matter. I mean, you just cut that by several times.
Does Tim Ballard support Black Lives Matter?
I like it. Let me see if I can extrapolate.
Derek kept the last word. I can make him credit.
Okay.
I'll take Thunder Stealer for 400.
There's a lot of people
I
here.
believe we're missing a big one. This is one that I'm going to try and help sponsor, and that's corporate philanthropy.
Oh.
Huge. YPO. We already had something started with those guys. Are you familiar with YPO?
Yes.
Check it.
See, they need universal causes.
Oh my gosh. The demographics of a YPO chapter are absurd. Truly some of the wealthiest and most powerful people and influencers on the globe.
In fact, that should be right here.
Presidents.
Yeah, Young Presidents Organization. Yeah. And we have an event with them in Orange County in April. But, you know, like every other nonprofit, well, here's what we're outlining with this guy. One of the YPO members in Southern California is, Tim and I met with him a few times. He's a good guy. He's come on as an observer on the jump. We're going to take him and two other YPOs, put them through the background check, put them through training, and have them come on and jump with us with a film crew. Film crew is going to, you know, watch what they do, make a 3-4 minute video. We'll show that video at this event in Orange County and Laguna Beach or somewhere, and hopefully that's the model that we'll use to get the other YPO guys throughout the world. But I'd love to know how else we.
Now, before we go a lot further, there's another real key that we learned in this whole thing.
Wow.
You got to have a quarterback for each of the main projects. So what we have to do is we have to scale
Qville.
We need more resources. Then we get a quarterback for the next strongest community with a project behind it, and then we scale them, and then the biggest thing about this model is that what you're trying to do, and this, it took me a while to figure out how this thing worked. There is a company, and we'll put your staff through it. It's called Digital Marketer. You've already been through it. They're the best in the world at what we're talking about here. And what they do is they do training like digitalmarketer.com.
They have 8 certifications.
Yeah, they do training on how to do digital marketing. And their #1 course. And so what they do is they sell you a single module for $7. That's normally $50. And at the very end of it, they try and upsell. They say, look, we've got 40 courses at $50 pop. That's $2,000. We give you one for $7, but for $38 a month, we'll give you all of them. They have 645,000 people, Todd, who've paid them at least $7 once.
Todd's there.
Remember the rule. If you can get them to buy it one time, you have a 10x improvement on being able to sell them something slightly bigger.
$5 to $7.
Yes. But it has to look like it's worth $40 to $50. So really they come up with all these monetized courses, and then they periodically just discount one that you seem to be most interested in because you might have clicked on it once, and they show you that one on Facebook. And that $7 course has a 20. Well, let me see. What's 140,000 into 645,000? That's about 4.5. Yeah, 20%, 25%. Yeah. They have a 20 to 25% conversion ratio of taking that $7 course to a $38 a month course for a year. They were the first company to make it to $1 billion valuation in 5 years through just what we call alchemy. They take something that costs nothing, an idea in your head, film it, make it a course, and sell it. There's no cost of goods.
This is smart.
They sell 8 levels of certification. Well, their #1 course is the thing that launches is called a 21-day launch.
We did a course of like Tim teaching mothers how to protect their children.
Yes, that's exactly right. And law enforcement officers how to notice when the real fine-tuned issues going on. Something for each of these communities to be able to be part of it. But here's the point: at the 21-day launch, they teach you a core concept, and that is this. It's how to monetize all of your marketing. Okay. So they never spend marketing on nothing. In other words, they don't let you just do brand advertising ever. It's always, always, always demand gen that sells something that pays back slightly more than the cost of the marketing. Okay, and it's like a lost leader strategy. So in other words, that they test that $7 cost, so it always over time pays the cost of the Facebook advertising to launch it. That's the key. So in other words, you'll never run out of money. If you always monetize at least enough to pay for the cost of the marketing, you have enough left to do it again. So it's sort of, I don't know what to call it. It's like lost leader marketing.
It's called money laundering.
It's not a loss. That's not the right. It's monetized marketing.
Minimal profit. Yeah. Minimal return marketing.
Yeah. There we go. But there's always enough to do it again. Now, you never bet the farm on a campaign. You always test, and make sure you can get your $7 paying for your Facebooks. So your $7 on average made it cost $3 to do the Facebook ads to get a $7.
That's right. You're saying you test the 2 groups.
Yeah, you test the groups. You fail small, and then go big. In fact, we call it shoot bullets, then cannonballs.
Okay.
A 22 bullet costs a nickel or whatever. It's a lot more now, I guess. So you test on small iterations till you get an ad that converts a $7 return for $3 on Facebook. Now you've got a mojo going on here. You can do that forever because you never drain the principal.
You know who's good at watching those numbers? Jesse Stay.
Jesse
That's
Stay.
what his magic is at.
Boom.
His magic is to watch those numbers and how well it's converting. What he's not good at is developing your content and all that stuff. So he'd be one of those guys that you'd have to have on staff, making sure that the A/B testing.
Okay, everybody out in the stretch for a minute.
Hey, Linda.
We're going to now
I
go
didn't see you.
brainstorming. We're going to be done.
Hey.
Here, but we're going to brainstorm sharp names.
Oh,
And then we're
gosh.
gonna, one of my favorite things is what I call the one-liners, the funniest of one-liners. I mean, when it slows down, it means you're about done. So we'll move on to the sharks now. We're gonna do two kinds of sharks. We're gonna do the kind you know and the kind we want to know. The obvious ones like Oprah, we want to know. Maybe you know her already. But the ones you've met, so we're gonna want to do the ones you know.
Okay, so this is calling about all the people he knows.
Things you've already have some kind of interaction based on the O.U.R model. So just start throwing out ones you know.
Glenn Beck.
Yes.
Lindsey Sterling. I'm going through it. These are ambassadors, and this is not. So these I'm giving you now, or not just know, but like they're already committed to doing. I could call them up and they'd be like, "Let's do it."
So these are yeses.
Yeah, these are already yeses.
Really?
Yes.
What's the other little girl? This little singer?
Lexi.
Lexi Walker. She's a yes.
What about Brooke White?
Brooke White's a yes. She's already in. She does the thing I want to ask.
Is Elizabeth still involved?
Elizabeth's a maybe.
There was a big pause there.
Yeah,
She's a
she's
tough
not a
character.
yes.
She's a tough character.
I put her on there. No,
Put her on there, we know.
not
Put a question.
definitely not a yes.
She'll do anything we want.
Okay.
She'll do anything we want to prepare.
So I'm going to put a question mark there.
Yeah.
Well, she probably hasn't heard this long.
Oh yeah.
Let me work.
Well, it would help her, yeah. I mean,
This would help her.
a ton.
What it really means is she's probably
They're
got
like-
people guiding her around who are
Yeah.
old school.
They're like Stone Age compared
Keep
to where
going.
Terry Crews.
Terry
Pretty
Cruz.
much a yes.
Wait, what's John Travolta's wife?
Kelly Preston.
Kelly Preston. And this is a great way to get to
John Travolta.
what's her Marisol's friend, the cute tall blonde.
Oh, Marisol.
Marisol Nichols.
Jenna Elfman.
Scientology.
As long as it's not the other guy.
Jenna Elfman.
Cascade.
Cascade. Montiel.
He's got a billion followers. He's a millennial DJ that
keep going, Emily, what'd you say?
Are they
They'll
gonna say
do-
Mr.
these
B?
people will do it, I'm telling you.
they're waiting for us.
All of these people have told us, tell me what to do and I'll do it.
Montiel Williams. There we go.
Adam LaRoche.
That's gross.
I know Alex Boyd was.
And he was related to, we met him at the
Really?
Oh, Luke Bryan.
Alex Boyer
What was
spoke at
LaRoche
first.
was on?
And he'll be here
Adam LaRoche.
this month or in September.
I'd add,
Concert week,
Bryan.
reach out.
I'd add Ryan Welch. Why are you laughing?
Good God.
Why are you
No.
No.
Yeah, why are we laughing?
We see Big Judas Iscariot off the list.
Dude,
I was just thinking of the
We
show.
got this picture done.
shark.
Shark.
He's a whale shark.
Ballard, right?
Elder Ballard.
You better
Gotta edit that.
Delete.
Yeah, I've got a good picture of this.
Okay.
Any other LDS high levels?
I heard we have a Colin likes this, right?
you know what? We have the Slim family.
Carlos.
Yeah, Slim
Alejandro
family.
Monteverde.
I include Eduardo. So these are the movie guys.
Yeah.
Eduardo Verástegui. Eduardo V. He's like the Tom Cruise of Mexico. No quite.
Sweet.
And he's in our pocket like 110%.
And
They're the ones doing the movie.
Ali.
Wow.
Ali Monteverde's got quite a following.
Ellie Landry,
Ali
former
Landry.
Miss America.
Louisiana.
That did the Doritos commercial during the
Yeah.
The Doritos girl.
So can I erase this now?
Yeah.
Going this way. Go this way. Picture, Derek quit. Who? Derek, did you get a picture?
That's not
Yeah.
bad.
Well, how about Sean Reyes and Governor Herbert? They're both fans and supporters.
fans.
Yeah, political, we've got some other politicians too, national, like a couple congressmen.
Who?
Congressman Paulson, Eric Paulson,
Chris Smith.
Chris
Eric
Smith,
Paulson?
Eric Paulson.
Mhm.
Somebody in
Like
love.
a few
What
congressmen.
about the guys that Fox?
I'm doing non-Utah. You can put on the Utah congressional
Bear,
delegation. I
Brian,
can do outside Utah.
Oh, yeah, Brett-
We have some-
Brett Baer?
Brett Baer. Almost every Fox News we have.
And
Brett Baer
Elaine Kahana. Didn't you see the one that did the CBS News piece on
and Elaine Kayano got him.
What about
It just showed it up last month.
what about the reporters that are on the blades? Like Tony, the girl, the blonde.
Yeah,
hair.
I'm going on her show next week.
Did you guys put
She
Tony
gets
Robbins
millions
up there?
of views on, like, every-
Tony Robbins.
Oh yeah, of course. She's big in social
Hmm.
media. She does a good job.
Okay, so you're not going on her show next week.
No, I should be tweeting this and everything.
And we don't know, it's not confirmed yet, but
Who is it?
what's her name?
I can't remember.
Emily, what's her name? The Blaze?
Lauren.
Reporter.
Tommy Lauren or something.
Tommy Lauren? Something like that?
Lohren or something.
Are we going on next weekend? I'll be in New York next week. I might be
Who's the other? There's a guy too that's really Buck Sexton.
Yes.
That's nuts, man.
He's huge.
Now, we have to really do a balancing act, like I said. We gotta, I mean, like over here, if we got Buck Sexton and Glenn Beck, we wanna have probably O'Reilly, you know? We wanna find that thesis antithesis, you know? We wanna have balance as much as we can, and it becomes pretty easy to start doing it. But we wanna hit Oprah.
Ellen.
Yes.
Would be amazing.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Anderson Cooper.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um,
And pretty much just talk show folks.
Yeah.
So we need to do a deep dive into all of the talk shows, and what we start doing is when you fly out, we want to try and book you to a couple of the things around that if we can. It's like if you're going to be there for some big one, we want to do a morning show and an afternoon show, and well, I mean, kind of.
It'd be fun to take one and run through the entire cycle. So
God.
the team's like, okay, we got Tony. We're on step 1 of step 13.
Yeah.
One
God.
movie, we did one film.
Is that how you, that's a great question.
We got the blogs, we got the.
Is that how you do it?
It is how you do it.
Okay,
The
you
first
want to
time you
time-
do it is the hardest.
So you identify who's that one person that we're, okay.
Maybe
But we still want to go ahead and get a list of everybody.
Okay, what-
do
Yeah,
a
okay.
list. I think
What if
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
again, a little left strategy, literally,
Oh.
what if
Sorry.
you look at foundations or individuals who are huge global presence, i.e. Clinton Foundation.
Ugh.
They've got a reputation problem right now.
No
And
kidding.
What if you went after, whether it's a manufacturing, Monsanto, I mean, I don't know, that has questionable image.
They need
In my
you.
experience, they
Yeah.
need us
Yes.
to help
Hmm.
build their image. So
Oh my God.
Clinton, or you know, the mining, the oil and gas,
Yeah.
the ones that a lot of people think are destroying the world,
Huntsman.
need to run, and they've got their $5 billion advertising campaign. They need to show that, hey, we're doing things. We're helping. So
Yeah, they're doing so many great things. Okay, that kind of became clear to me just now when he said, you know how people like me and you, a lot of us think that these big corporations, they are just these monster corporations that just swallow up the small guys basically, and that seems to have taken place really quick in my opinion. I don't know. I'm kind of newer into this, but that's interesting.
it's easy to
Rewound it.
look at this and go, cool, I'm gonna go get on here, and then you're gonna make me super popular. But you've been on things before
Yeah.
that didn't make you super popular.
So what was
It became
missing?
a
What was missing?
flash in the pan.
What was missing?
what? That's my question. We've done this
There's
before.
only one
Right,
thing
so
that's
it's been on Brett. I mean, he's been Brett there. What's
What?
that's the conversion, call to action.
No, we've had calls to action. We just didn't. They haven't been
Yes.
I think they're just the same tired calling out.
Yes. Yep. And touch.
What's it say?
Well, you gotta have free ones to build your base, and then monetized ones to drive the revenue.
Yeah, I know.
And you're right, we gotta be intriguing.
Sure.
In
The,
other
the
words,
message is compelling.
They
what
make a
I'm trying
lot.
to do is highlight that we have done this, and you can go down some of these
Yes.
steps. But if you
I don't know.
if you
You
don't
know what?
have
Okay.
everything,
We
it doesn't work.
we don't have to
Let me talk
reinvent
about this.
invent the wheel. Where did these come from? Who was the first person to do it? Lance Armstrong.
Yeah.
He's got a bit of a reputation image, but that was after the fact.
Well,
What was he
the
doing?
problem is that might have tainted the whole meeting.
It may have,
Yeah.
but the point being, these things were never.
Cool.
But everybody has these now. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. Kids Cancer Foundation, Lance Armstrong Foundation, did something. They sold these for $10.
I agree.
I'm not saying that's not remote. I'm just saying
But
there's something
really
there.
powerful, and the key, I believe, is the uniqueness of and the innovation. You know, doing an also ran kind of thing, never
Player
pulled
to
it.
be, no.
And
also.
and what we tried to put our heads around, what's the mojo that makes it always work, and why does swim with the sharks work? And we came down to, we think it's one word. It's anything that's cool.
Yeah.
The cool factor is
Okay.
probably the most powerful single concept there
We'll
is.
wrap up here soon. We'll
Absolutely.
do part 2 tomorrow.
And so what
So
we're doing-
rescuing kids with Navy SEALs.
yeah, the
What?
Navy SEAL
You know
man
what?
is the cool.
So
Yeah.
there's a company, I love their stuff. Frankly, their brand, their shirts, I wear mine all the time. It's called Spiritual Gangster.
Mm-mm.
It's a yoga. I don't even do yoga. I just like their gear. Spiritual Gangster. And the last week I've been going, I get more comments on those shirts just a
Yeah.
t-shirt, it says
Yeah.
Spiritual Gangster and some little black, 10,000 times more than any other gear or anything I wear.
Right.
Nice, I love that shirt. And I thought, gangster is a cool word. I wish we could do abolition.
But
You know,
look what they've
rescue
done.
gangster.
Look what they've done.
Gangster is
They've done a bridge.
exactly.
See, they took two complete opposites and bridged it together, and now they've siphoned off the brand that was bad to good.
That's what I'm saying we need to do.
And
So-
we just got to keep driving this. And so this is
In the
the
store.
real mojo. Always is here.
It's got to be.
It's easy to do communities
Yep.
and thought leaders and sharks, but this is where I try and go, is what I call one-liners.
Yeah, I agree,
So, you
Marianne.
know all the Clint Eastwood movies? They built the movies on the one-liner.
Yeah. Go ahead, make my day.
Movie. They're still talking about
You gotta
movies and
become
not
masters
children,
at that.
not rescuing.
If there's any
Oh.
value of branding left, it's in this stuff, because Twitter has 140 characters.
And you know who did that really, really well? Porn Kills Love.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah,
He's got a million followers.
Corn kills love.
yeah.
I mean, I talk to Clay
Thank
fairly
you.
often, and he's always like,
Thank you
See,
"Do you know how bad I wish I was selling
so
child
much.
sex trafficking? Because you know how hard it is to sell. Don't get into porn."
So what's he do? So he has more
Hold on.
followers than we do.
We need to
Let's back this up and then look, we're going to have to find an endpoint here. We're at 110.37 and we have 213.25. And so we're not going to do that tonight, but I scheduled a live stream for tomorrow and I have posted the link a couple times already in the live chat. And so I'm going to go back over what he just said about corn. Is it whatever he said? I already forget. Anyways, so just let's listen to this and then we'll get on out of here. Okay. So,
That I wish I was selling child sex trafficking,
well,
because you know.
one more.
Yeah.
I mean, I talk to Clay fairly often, and he's always like,
see.
"Do you know how bad I wish I was selling child sex trafficking? Because you know how hard it is to sell. Don't get into porn."
So what's he do? So he has more followers than we do. Is that
We need to tap those guys.
60% more
How
followers.
come?
Because he's got a one
Because
line.
Is this
That's
fighting
really
the drug,
well.
or is that the same group as fighting?
And it's fighting drugs.
Because our message is way more powerful than his.
Way more. He will admit that.
So
We need a one line.
He bridges really, really well.
We need that's
Yeah, he's brilliant on the
And
creative side.
If you look at
One more time, because that was something about selling. trafficking.
I was selling child sex. It's got
Right
a
here.
million
This other person's like, I wish I was selling HT, ST. I'm just using the initials, but and so this guy who's telling him this is basically selling corn. Corn. Okay. What are we talking about?
Because Twitter has 140 characters.
And you know who did that really, really well? Porn Kills Love.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
He's got 1 million followers.
Yeah.
I mean, I talk to Clay fairly often, and he's always like,
See,
do you know how bad I wish I was selling child sex trafficking?
Counter.
Because you know how
Okay.
hard it is to sell. Don't get into porn.
So what's he do? So he has more followers than we do. Is that
We need to tap those guys.
60% more
How
followers.
come?
Because he's got a one
Because
line.
Is this
That's
fight
true.
the new drug, or is that the same group as fighting?
It's
Fight
fighting
the
drugs.
Because
Like the new drug.
our message is way more powerful.
Way more. He will admit that.
So
Well,
We need a one line.
He bridges really, really
But
well.
we need that's
Yeah, he's brilliant on the creative side.
If you look at the revenue that he earns and then the way he spends it, he spends it predominantly on graphic designers
Yeah,
and
the look.
millennials
yeah.
designing his t-shirts,
Yep.
posters. I mean, he spends a lot of money and pays those guys. His website, his articles, his
Killer.
research.
I love his stuff.
That's where he puts all of his money.
okay. Well, let's stop it right there. We're at 111:21, marking it right now. I forget what key to mark it back here, but anyways. All right. So, oh my God, right? Y'all. Oh my God. So glad we're doing this. Thank you, Chris, for being here. Thank you for forwarding it to me. I know it was months ago, but dang, I didn't know how to do this, and I didn't want to continue like holding it, it needs to be out there, but I didn't know how, and I didn't want to talk over it. And, I tend to do that. So anyways, I think this is good though. They were talking about fight the new drug. Okay. Which remember whenever Jody Hildebrandt came out, and remember when Megan Connor and Mindy Caldwell and Lauren Matthias with Hidden True Crime went on Mormon Stories podcast, and they were exposing, Tom Harrison, basically Tim Ballard. They were talking about this whole movement here, Lori and Chad. Well, they also mentioned on that flyer that because Eternal Core was created by Tom Harrison and Ken Krogh, teacher, the old teacher guy here, and who the church, obviously, according to Ken, sought him out to help Tim brand, his Facebook, whatever. Anyways, and so anyway, and then again, also it leads me to tie this into that they mentioned Jesse Stay, and I have that interview with Jesse Stay that is closed to the public, but I am a member, so I copied the transcript, and it's very telling. It paints a bigger picture, and it gives us more of probably what happened at the 2019 whiteboard meeting, except for let me see, where's that? Do I have a copy of it? No. Hold on just one second, because let's look at this. Yeah, I do this. Hold on. Let me change my aspect again. Here we have the whiteboard meeting that took place in 2019, allegedly. Right? That was where am I at? Okay, where's my dang screen? Oh, there it is. Okay. They all tend to blend in sometimes. So, let's just kind of look at this is, can you imagine watching that live the whiteboard meeting? Like the one we are watching right now. It's not a very clear picture, but how, this is a diagram of it that was by Lynn Packer. Right? Let me make this larger. Okay, so we have Ballard's whiteboard drawing. So, it's this, but clearly where we can see, and you have Slave Stealers LLC, which is a for-profit corporation that M. Russell Ballard threw in on, This is their endeavor. And since Tim's been removed, I want to say, I'm not sure for sure right now because I'm not looking at it. But anyway, so there's Brian Norton, Tim Ballard, and Russell Ballard. He's silent. Well, I mean, anyways, let me not go there. But I mean, he did pass away November 12th, 2023. I'll never forget. Because I cried whenever he died, not because I like the man or miss him or whatever. I just, he's spearheading this, in my opinion. I agree with Huggy Bear, big time. And then, this is supposed to funnel basically into the Child Liberation Foundation, which is owned by or ran by Paul Hutchinson, the billionaire who has been working with the authorities. Okay. And the 2019 whiteboard meeting it took place at his house. All right. And he's spoken out about this on his channel, but I don't trust him either. Okay. That's where Dave Lopez went too. Dave Lopez went to go work with Paul Hutchinson. He left Tim Ballard and he also talked to authorities. Okay. So, and then the CEO is Brad Damon. I can't see that. Something Hala Vanessa, and advisor is Kahia. Kahia appeared on Troy Abel's channel with Janet Russin. And I mean, again, they character assassinate Paul Hutchinson. Another thing that's interesting is that, there seems to be these alter egos going on. And how Tim Ballard has talked about or shared that he has a boneyard somewhere, right? And that his name is Brian Black. That's his alter ego. So, and then we know Sean Diddy Combs, he had a bazillion alter egos, right? Love, Puff Daddy, all the different names, right? That's so nasty. And then look at Lori and Chad with James and Elena. And then you have Melanie Gibb, who's Phoebe. And you have Melanie Pulaski, who I forget her name. Audrey is Joanna. All the different names. And so it's so interesting to kind of look at that aspect too. But back to this. So this goes into O.U.R, which is the sizzle. Okay. So it's like, it's money laundering. It looks like to me, in my opinion, allegedly, I'm not an expert, but it's just gross. Going to all the Nazarene Fund, which is owned by Glenn Beck, but Tim Ballard sits on it too. It's also as a sizzle. Children need families. Okay, this is nasty right here. This is straight up gross. I can't say how alarming this is. Children need families. They write grants or whatever to fund, it basically be a middleman for people to adopt children. Anyways, liberty and I mean, back to children and families. Tim Ballard, he shames everybody. He shames the women who have held or trying to hold him accountable, him and his posse, for filing charges on him, just like in Diddy's case, these civil lawsuits. Okay. And so, and he's like, this is why, they're the reason why these children aren't getting adopted. Catherine cries on freaking screen, and it's cry on demand. It's COD, cry on demand. It's nasty. Just like the children aren't being rescued allegedly because Tim's not able. Nobody's stopping him, right? He never rescued any before, in my opinion. Again, Liberty and Light used to be Equity Trust, right? Okay, Mercury One, another Glenn Beck owned organization that Tim Ballard sits on. Orphanage in Haiti. Okay. I mean, this is gross. Then this goes into timballard.com. Okay. This is the end all be all. The Sound of Freedom movie. Boom, boom. 50K to 100K speaking events. So people pay people to go and speak. And he was charging 50K to 100K. I want to say in the lawsuit, it said that he had missed a $250,000 speaking event because he was hungover or whatever. I don't remember. $2.5 million bank account. Well, it seems like Tim, if he's so out of it and can't support himself right now and during this time of persecution, $2.5 million in his bank account seems like I'd be able to live pretty lavish, comfortably, So don't poor mouth us, Tim. We see right through you, dude. 3 to 5 new books coming out, not to mention all the ebooks that Kenny here taught us about how to proselytize and we'll say traumatize and monetize, right? Because there are victims laying in the wakes of these people. There are victims laying in the wakes of these people. There are victims laying in the wakes of these people. And I mean, this is just the tip of the iceberg here. I know I keep hearing that too. Tip of the iceberg, right? It's tip of the spear in this case. So anyways, enough of that. And so I posted here. I'll post it again. Oh, I probably can't now because I messed with that picture. Okay. Tim says his suitcase had his sperm and her skirt brushed on it. Well, awesome. I remember when I was 2, and tried to make things that were nonsensical make sense. You can't do it. Oh wait, I got the perfect banner for that, or overlay. Hold on, let me get it. Let me get that it's a little sound clip or whatever. There you go. Dude, that conspiracy theory was totally debunked. How was it debunked? Well, he asked the guy who did it and he said that he didn't do it. Bet you feel pretty stupid now, huh? They look alike, straight up. So if you asked him, he didn't do it. So therefore it's, it's a conspiracy theory. It's perfect. It's perfect. He could, I know, imagine if these people would have just channeled this and well, don't channel it, but have done this for the good, the do good, the more good, more bad, right? Is what I see. That is the case with a lot of toxic products, but no product has been made more toxic to humans than religion, right? And this trafficking stuff, like selling is slavery. It's modern day slavery. And it's disgusting. Violation of human rights all the live long day. And that pisses me off. And I feel like, you guys, it pisses you off too. Yeah, he could. If ever, right? Can we just, it's like nailing jello to a tree, right? Or to a whiteboard. Nailing jello to a whiteboard prophecy, right? 2019. Yeah, using the Lord for all these selfish things. Anybody who hides behind, and I've said that from jump, Donna, like before the case went public or anything, I remember thinking, oh my God, I'm talking about Lori and whatever the hell she was up to. I was just like, it seemed to be hiding behind Christ. And that's what I meant by that. Like they are okay with that. They are okay with that. And I'm not okay with that. I'm not okay with people who are okay with that, But anyways, all right, guys, I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'm trying to make these shorter, but I suck at it. And thank you, Huggy Bear. If you send that to me, Kresha0123@gmail.com. Thank you again, Chris, for sending me this awesome telling, exposing video. Okay. Appreciate you guys. Love always wins. Justice for Tylee, Charles, Tammy, JJ, and Joe. See you guys mañana or tomorrow.